Yes, now welcome back. Matt back with it's episode two of the new Monchi method here with Olympique Marseille. Um, we're now up to the January transfer window, so today's episode is going to be about signings. We're finally going to use sort of the Monchi method, some data tracking, and we're going to talk about something else as well, which is something I touched on briefly in yesterday's episode. Um, which is transfer list of players and whether you should add value to transfer list of players. I know it seems like a real like generic thing is that everyone looks at transfer list of players, but actually in fact they don't. You only have to sort of watch sort of the bigger YouTubers. They don't tend to look for players who are transfer listed, and it's something that I haven't tended to do in the past because you normally just think the transfer list of players are going to be guys who are rubbish, really. Um, we brought a transfer list player in at the start of this season with Patrick Schick. He came in for 5.5 million from Leverkusen. You can see straight away his value is 18.5 million. He's not done fantastic, but he's not done bad. I think he's just settling in. He's only scored 4 goals. But if you look at his report, he's finding it hard to adapt into the core group, and that's essentially what it's been. It's saying he's inconsistent. Again, I think that's just because he's having a bit of a bad season. But us ourselves, we're not doing bad. We're actually third in the league. We were first in the league for a period of time, but you can see, I mean, the fact they've got Haaland and Mbappe, just they're absolutely flying. You can actually see there the team one place below us is Gingamp, which would suggest to me that we created a decent little side there. Whether I would have been able to do that with them, I don't know. But yeah, we're third in the league. Sort of similar to what happened in the Gingham save. We started off like a house on fire and had a bit of a blip. You can see there that we were playing, apart from Saint Etienne, we played PSG, Lyon, and Nice, who were all in and around the top spots when those games were played, and then we've had the World Cup break there. Um, and that's left us in a very respectable third place when we were only expected to get Europa League football. So I'm quite happy with that. If we can keep third place, we get Champions League, which is a winner. So what now is that we need to look at the. We've already identified that the squad's not. There's not enough depth in the squad, basically. Opinion of, can we do the DOF? No, we'll do Christian Spachman then because he's got the best, basically. Um, you can see fullback wise, we've only really got Gideon Mensah, who was brought in. Malang Sarr has basically not played. When he has played, he's not been amazing. I'm really not impressed with him. So you can see left back, definitely centre back, because the only other cover for centre back is Sarr, and then Endo, who is not a centre back by trade in any way. And right back, we are hoping to bring Emerson in at some point, but whether that happens, I don't know. And definitely goalkeeper. Barcelona are actually sniffing around for Steve Mandanda, who is 37 now. Actually made his 500th appearance for Marseille on this day of the week. God, he's played for them forever. But yeah, so definitely we need some defenders in. Midfield wise, we have already identified one problem area. Click on the wrong one. If we click on tactics, we like to play a box to box midfielder. Um, we had Monchi does cover there sometimes, but the main box to box midfielder for the team, um, where has he gone? Is Rongier. There you go, Valentin Rongier. He's been the main box to box. Very, very good player, and his average rating is great. He's only got 3 assists, and he's not contributed with any goals just yet. Um, so what we decided we were going to get rid of Sanson. He was on about 80 grand a week, and he really wasn't playing at all. And then we had a little look at what was available to us. I am still planning on just getting this core in the middle of the pitch done up. We've made a contract offer for Monchi, who we've got on loan from Barca. He's out of contract, so we've gone for him. But you might have noticed we brought in Abdullahi Corey. Good, good, experienced central midfielder. Played a lot of his football outside of France, oddly enough. Um, Although we did make 75 appearances for Ren. We paid £8.5 million for him from Everton. It's saying his value is a little bit less. But I think as a box to box midfielder, um, definitely as like just as like a squad option, even as a starter, I think I'm gonna start him, for the next game. So that Rongier, you're gonna go to the bench. We're going to drop Strootman out, and we're going to pop you there, and then Abdullahi Corey is going to go in there. Kevin Strootman's going to be going out on a free. You can see he's on £105,000 a week, and no, just no, we can't afford that. I mean, you could see the is on like 77 there. There's a few people on like fours and fives. I think Tovan's on pretty hefty wage. Yeah, he's on 86 grand a week as well. We really need to bring that down, and getting Strootman out the door is going to be pretty much priority number one for that. So what we need then, we need to identify some centre backs. So I'm going to click on the scouting tab now. We're going to first of all look at the shortlist of 75 plus players that we managed to find. Let's just clear that out the way. Uh, we say 75 plus. Sometimes someone can drop to like maybe a 70 or a 71. Are we going to be making these signings in January? Probably not, because we need to showcase the net tracking, which is going to be our director of football looking at these guys for a couple of matches or maybe even a couple of months, and going about it that way. So first of all, we definitely need a left back, and if we have a little look who our scouts have come back. All our scouts are decent as well. So all these guys who have got, good recommendations, I tend to stick with that anyway. The star ratings don't mean that much to me, but we at the minute are going to have to look into it. First off, on the base of it, let's have a look at Javi Lopez, who is he's asked for a new contract. His contract is up in 2025, but he's playing for Ivar. Um, Face value, attribute wise, he just seems like a decent fullback. We play fullback support. He's definitely got the attributes for that. He's fairly susceptible to injuries, and he will be a peripheral figure. That's the thing. I think because the squad was such a mess, and we had to do a high turnover quite quickly, just to get sort of a 25-man squad together. Um, it's sort of hindered us a little bit, and there's not really any sort of core within the team. It's a bit scatterdash at the minute, which you would have seen on the tactics tab. There's no relationships between any player. Um, but this guy is consistent, good stamina of the challenge. He's natural in a few positions, which means he can play up and down that wing, which is great. Good amount of pace and no problems with that. So he's definitely one to look at. The next up was Rayan Out Nuri. He's a fantastic player on this game, but you can just see straight away they're going to want too much for him. Whereas if we look at Javi Lopez, information wise, he's level headed, which is good. That's a good personality trait, and he's balanced. His agent thinks they'll want anywhere between 9.5 and 19. Does he have a release clause? Most Spanish players do. A minimum fee release clause of 13.2, so we know the most we'll have to pay for him is that. Um, what I'm going to do now then is get Pablo to go and have a little look at him. Again, we don't need him this season. So we're at 1st of January now. I'm going to get Pablo to look at him for 3 months. And then once this is done, once we've looked at him, if we are keen on getting him, I'll more than likely add him to just the main shortlist. The only problem with the default shortlist is that it'll add players onto it that you're not really bothered about. See, like all these guys that you just scouted. It's a bit annoying, but the other way around that is to make a new shortlist and add them onto like definite purchases or something along those. Let's do that now. Let's put nails on. So if anyone goes in the nails on, go away, 8 Nori, get out. Yeah, so if you're good enough, you go on the nailed on shortlist. Yeah, we're gonna avoid Ain't Nori and Jamal Lewis. They were picked up in the Premier League scouting, obviously because they're a better team or a better league than us. The better reputation, we scout that just to see. But I think those values are going to be too much for us to pay. Kostas Tsimikas, then former Liverpool winger, back is playing over in Russia. He's wanted by a few teams, including Shandong. I reckon about 15 mil for him. His cons are again the social group, but I'm just concerned about the social group in general. Um, he's not great in the air, and he needs to learn the language. But good, he's resolute character. He's fast. He's brave. He's natural. He likes his big matches. He's consistent. Can he play fullback support? I absolutely have no doubt that he can. He's got very nice traits too. If we just compare him quickly then with Gideon Mensah, who has become our starting left back, you'll see purely from the polygraph, he offers a bit more than Mensah, although Mensah's better in the air. He's not as good going forwards, which is why we've kept him on support at the minute. Although he has performed quite well, you can see he's got an average rating of 7.25, so I'm quite happy with that. Um, Statistically, he outperformed Simicast, but I think that's just because he's having such a good season. Again, he's only potentially a good left back. You can see there that if you do want to put star ratings in, they're saying 7.2. What am I chatting? 2.5 star. So Simicast then again. I think we're gonna get Pablo to have a little look at him. Um, let's do 3 months again. We've got it set. Our scouting preference is set to, I believe, if a player transfers to another team, we stop scouting them. No, there we go. We'll do that. So if a player gets transferred, we just stop scouting them full stop. If I just click on get a scout report, it does it for a week, etc. etc. We do it that way. So is there anyone else left back wise? There's John Lucimi, who's definitely not a left back. He's a centre back. Yeah, playing for Genk. He's a very good centre back, so he might pop up if we look at that. Um, So we've got them there. Next up, then, if we're gonna look at the player search, and what we're gonna do this for is it's something that I identified in the last video, and something that I want to start talking about now is should you put value in transfer listed players? Um, Players can be transfer listed for a number of reasons, just like in real life. They could have fell out with the manager, they might be too old. As you can see, Winston Reid and Pastatopoulos Socrates, both 34, they haven't kicked the ball for their team. They're probably on high wages as well, so they're transfer listed. But then you've got guys like, um, if we just scroll it all the way up there, um, you've got guys like Alexis McAllister, who is oh, that's not Alexis McAllister. Gabriel Barbosa, there you go. Man City, amazing player on this game. Gabriel, absolutely incredible centre forward. Playing for Man City, you can see there he has made one appearance this season. Um, so we like to do the net tracking and looking at statistics to aid our recruitment. Gabigol's not played enough. So if we were looking at like a scatter graph, he literally wouldn't even show up on there because he's not performed, which is why I want to try and take this route into it too. DNA wise, he's absolutely fantastic. Whether he'd want to come to us though, I don't know. So if we ask the agent about his availability, um, he fancies Sevilla, which is fine. Um, he'd expect a hefty wage. They was on 56 million, and he wants a couple of promises. He's definitely better than Patrick Schick. Not to say Patrick Schick's a bad player. Could we get him in on loan? Do you reckon we could go on? Absolutely not. So Gabigol's out the window. But there you go. Like it's that sort of thought process that I've got now. Is like even like Ainsley Maitland-Niles there. He's transfer listed for like £27 million, but he's not kicked a ball, so he wouldn't show up in any scattergraphs or whatnot. Thiago too. I have already scouted him, but he's just not interested, which is a bit annoying. Um, this guy was actually picked up by the scout who was looking in Portugal. Um, when they look at a particular league, they also look at the national team as well, whether that's under 23s, under 21s, or in particular the main first team. They do tend to look at that, and this is how this guy's come up. Um, if we look at the scout report, it was Pablo Longoria who found him. Again, it's the social group stuff, and he might struggle adapting. However, he matches sort of everything that we're after. Um, Pablo's already found him and he's scouted him quite extensively. So he, for me, if we add him to nailed on, and we're going to do that for 6 months. Add him on there for that because I think he is pretty much a nailed on. You can see the only games he's played for Tottenham are in the Papa John's Trophy or in friendlies, which would be for the under 23s. And you can see Stade Rennais have made an £8.25 million offer for him. We don't have that money. Can't get him in on loan. I think we just offer the 10, and then we try and work around our finances for that. As you can see, we've only got 4.38 million in the bank there. So it's just about removing the luck factor, this whole director of football approach. But in certain circumstances, you're not going to be able to eliminate the luck factor. The only thing, I mean, as I say, these guys haven't played anything particularly amazing now. The only thing you can do is just get such a good scout or such a good deal. Have to just really look at this guy and look at his media handling and see if his personality fits, and then sort of see if he fits in with the DNA of the team. Um, in terms of DNA determination, I used to look really highly for, which is why one of these is on there. Um, Zealand, who I'm pretty sure you all know who Zealand is, and if you don't, then you need to go and check him out. He's done an experiment video, and it basically determines that determination is not as important as it used to be. If a player's got between 10 and 20 determination, he'll be just fine. If it's anything lower, then pretty much bin him off. So you look at someone like Thiago, who's got 11 determination, um, and he's got an ambitious personality. He, regardless, would be a world class player to some degree. So we're quite happy now to look at determination between 10 and 20 rather than looking at like 15 plus. So I've changed that on the scouting stuff as well. Is there anyone else? Because the values are quite high in the Premier League. That's the only issue that you've got. I mean, like you look at all these guys, they're all like 18, 19, etc. They're all transfer listed too. Probably not ever going to do much, if anything. It's just about finding that sort of one gem that you maybe wouldn't look at. Uh, Kelleher is a good goalkeeper in real life. He looks decent enough on the game. They want 100k for a 24-year-old goalkeeper. Oh, he's available on a free too. He's level-headed. Um, Again, let's just get Pablo to look at him just until full knowledge. We don't want to send him out for months and months looking for a player who's only playing friendlies or under 23 football. That's a bit silly. Um, is there anyone else who's close enough to Kelleher? Maybe not. Again, another thing we've got to think about is the board's sort of reluctance to sign anybody over the age of 23. I had to ask them if I could sign Doucouré, even though on face value Doucouré improves the team. It's a bit of an annoyance, but it's just something that we have to deal with. Um, Chris Willock transfer listed. He's playing for QPR. He's a good little player, Chris Willock. Just doesn't look like he's developed all that much on this save though. Um, Good anticipation, good positioning. John Paul Van Heck. He's another one out of contract, isn't he? Um, Spirited personality. He is a similar player to Dunk, but his media handling is evasive. So we tend to stay away from things like that. So it's going to be a bit of a longer one. This is more just sort of about identifying people and how we've come to that conclusion, rather than sort of just going, I've signed this person, answer this person. It might be a bit more tedious. I mean, watch it if you want. If it's not the type of thing you're into, then by all means, click off. But this is how we're going to do it rather than clipping all out. We're going to show you the thought process behind these things. I'm going to come away from the Prem because I think they're just a bit too overvalued. Let's have a look in League In. If there's anyone knocking about. Alexis Romero's on the transfer list. Florian Miguel, he played for me. Florian, we sold him. Right, there we go. How's he getting on physically? That is, he still made it. Oh, that's Jeff Adelaide. We've done it by value again. Leon having a bit of a mad season. They were brilliant on it last year. They won the league and they've sort of dropped off a little bit. I think they're third in the league now. And I imagine a few players are kicking off because of that. Jeff Adelaide would definitely suit what the board fancy and what the club wants. Runs the ball down the right, he runs it often, and he cuts inside from the left wing. So he's basically got everything to play across the front line. Fairly determined personality, which is good. Level-headed media handling. Agent thinks they're on about 13 million for him. Let's come away from Pablo because he's got a few things to do. Let's get Gerardo to have a little look at him, and again we'll just do until full knowledge. Not that we necessarily need a winger, but if doing it this way, if someone crops up, then I'm happy to take the jump, take the risk on one of these players if they add value, as we did earlier with Bamba. He's not played all that much, but he's definitely a player that we needed, or he definitely filled the position we needed. Is there anyone else here? Roca, we've made a contract offer for. He's just a great little player. He's only 18 as well, and look at those attributes. So we made the contract offer for him. Hopefully he decides to come to us because that was his old manager. We don't necessarily need a right back, but 1.2 million. He can play left back too, Henriks. Mariapan. Again, he's decent. So we're just trying to identify someone who is basically undervalued at their club who can come in and do a job for us. Matthew Udall looks okay, £1 million. He's only made one appearance, so there's no point in even looking at this. The only thing we could suggest doing is potentially looking at his career stats from the last season. But again, there's not an awful lot of data to go for from there. On face value, they think maybe 2.5 star. I think he's probably better than that. Let's just get a little scout report. We'll do a little week one on him. Matty Udall might be coming in. Again, he's sort of hitting his prime too. But again, what we really need is a left back and definitely centre backs. Not just one, maybe two. Finding them might be quite a challenge, to be honest with you. Is there anybody? I think we're just getting into the attack side of it now. Semprini came in a king up last season for me. He wasn't the best. He didn't really kick a ball. He's definitely not good enough to play for Marseille. It's hard, man. It's hard. It's a hard. That's the thing. The game's not as cut and dry as you think it would be. Jules Berry was highlighted to us at the start of the season to bring in. The only thing I'm worried about is his mentals aren't great, so I think we'll probably avoid him He looks okay. Alexis Romero, man. He was so good for me again at Guingamp. He was just so good. Um, yeah, let's move on from the French league then. I think we've identified a few more there. Once we've sort of looked at the top tiers, then we can start looking a bit more data analyst wise and sort of see where we're lacking and how to plug those gaps where we're lacking. The thing is with this as well, um, the transfer list of players can pop up at any time, and I'll show you one that we've literally been tracking since the start of the season. He was found in the Spanish league. You'll know who he is. He's a very well-known player, and it's somebody I really do want to get in, but it's whether he'll come to us and the finances of bringing that player in might outweigh what we need. We've got this guy. He's transfer listed by request. They're probably going to want the full whack for him, in all honesty. But he does look like a good centre half match out. He looks like a very good centre half playing for Dortmund. Ball player as well. Left footed ball player. We've also got Kaletakar and Boubacar, who are right footed. Boubacar may be leaving. There's a lot of interest in him, but I mean, this guy looks awesome. 15 bravery, 14 anticipation, 14 position, 14 marking, tackling, heading, etc., etc. Balanced personality. His media handling, please be decent. He's media friendly. Would he fancy us? That's the agent. He wants 30 mil. So he's happy. He'd be happy because we give him the playing time. His wage isn't massive either for a team our size. Um, it's more so the transfer fee. Again, let's just get a quick scout on him. The transfer fee is definitely putting me off though because we're just not going to be able to afford it. Whether we net track him and in the summer he becomes available for cheaper, we don't know. Um, that's sort of the risk of looking at the transfer list of players, or someone could just swoop in and get him at any time. Um, it's a bit of a yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's a hard way of playing the game rather than just going, oh, this guy's 5 stars, I'm going to sign him. It's a lot harder when you play it this way. I think a lot more realistic too, which is why I do like doing this. Maxwell Cornet, former Lyon winger. Nah, I don't think so. Hwang Hee-chan, he's just been around the block, hasn't he? We don't need a striker, so we're going to ignore him. I did have a little look at Phillipe Kostic because he has actually made some appearances, so we can take a little look at these. But he doesn't necessarily do much more than than what my guys do. So we're going to try and avoid him. Lasso Benez, good player again, quite undervalued there for me. 3.4 million, but you can just see the value wise compared from the Bundesliga to the Premier League is mental. Some of these guys would be like 25 million in the Premier League, particularly that Martial, he'd be quite high. That's just a mad one, isn't it? Phillipe Benkovic, former Leicester defender. He's only worth 2.4 million playing for Schalke. Really good mental attributes for a centre half. Physically not the best, but good technically too. Maybe have a little scout on him. He won't cost much. That might be someone that we could bring in as an immediate option, which would help the squad in the short term. 25 years of age, so he could potentially go on to be a long term target too. Again, we saw Maxime Awuja in the last video, just hasn't developed as nicely as he does in other saves. I've seen it in saves I've done at the start of the season, and he's just turned out to be an absolute monster. Mark Oliver Kempf, 27 years of age now. Good defender, but the board just wouldn't have it. I know they wouldn't. That's the frustrating thing about it. Giuseppe Patzella, 25-year-old left back at Frankfurt, looks a good player. I think left back wise though, we do want to get Goncalves in from Guingamp. He was just such a good player for me for them. We're looking for a left back. He's not playing much for them, so I think we are going to probably go for him. It's just whether we can afford what they'll be asking. Definitely someone to look at in the summer. Anybody else then? No, Florian Vert we saw in the last video again. He's out of contract now, but would he fit into our team? He definitely suits what the board are after, but we obviously don't play an AP. The only thing is he could play potentially as an inverted winger, or potentially because he's not got any traits, he could maybe play as a DLP, maybe even on defend because he's got decent enough positioning for it. He's a bit of a wonder kid on this game, actually. I'm surprised. He's just got a balanced personality and he's quite level-headed. Let's just see. What's his agent chatting? 13 grand a week, breakthrough prospect. He wants a low move, which I can do that if need be. Okay then. Well, let's see. Let's make an offer for him. Let's just see. Will he take? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll definitely do that because we now have a scouting relationship with a scouting relationship, just a relationship with Sion. Don't want this. Don't want this. I don't mind that because he's not going to be playing much. 18, take 15. Yeah, with Sion now, so we can send players there. They can get experience in a league which is close enough to League 1. Obviously French speaking too, so we can sort of develop those players away from the club now, which is obviously pretty much everyone's favourite thing on FM. We'll get rid of that, but we'll keep them in. Meet me at the middle on 16, mate. My guy. Okay, so there's an offer for him. Probably won't join because he's got a few bigger teams sniffing around him. But again, he's somebody who wouldn't have shown up doing doing the scouting the way that we normally do it. Even Mesut Ozil there playing for Leipzig, he wouldn't show up. He's probably absolutely naff now, Mesut Ozil, but it's a big name player. So if you were a smaller team, sort of if I was still at Guingamp and we needed a bit of a financial windfall, bringing someone like Ozil in would create revenue for the club. Is there anyone else? Maybe Candido, maybe. Guilavogui. Luca Nets, he's a good little player on this game. Luca Nets turns out quite good. They listed him for £21 million at the start of this season, and we could get him on a free. He's driven, determined personality, 19-year-old German youth international, level-headed. Can we offer him a trial? Maybe. I'll get a quick scout report on him too. He could potentially come in. He could probably be the starting left back, you know. I think he's better than Mensah. But see, undervalued. That was sort of the point of this video is um, undervalue players that are transfer listed. Is there value in scouting players this way? So far in the base of what we've been doing, I'm going to say there is. I'm going to say yeah. Whether you agree, I don't know. But we'll just have to see if we can get a couple of these guys in, and then maybe give them a season or so. We'll probably be able to see how it comes into fruition. Matteo Lovato I've had in saves before. He's a good little defender on this game. I know he's a good centre back. Massive jump and reach. mentally and physically, he's great. Technically, he's good as well. I'm going to imagine they want quite a bit for him. Light-hearted personality. He's quite evasive media handling. So again, probably not what we need DNA-wise at the club. Tom Davies is playing for Roma. Oh, Tom Davies went to Roma. I love Tom Davies in real life. I absolutely love Tom Davies. When did he go to Roma? He went at the start of the season as a part exchange. At least he kicked the ball for them. Imagine Tom Davies skateboarding around Rome. Mad that. Tom Davies in the six, mate. Ooh. Ooh. They'd won 3 million for him. Media handling, level-headed. The fact, I know it sounds really stupid, but because obviously I'm from Liverpool, my manager's from Liverpool too. These would actually create quite a good bond, which is mad the way to think the game actually does stuff like that, but it does. It come into full effect. We could get him in on loan for. It's his wages, isn't it? Let's cancel that for now. I definitely need to look at my wages because we're just spunking money at the minute, and it's those bigger ones like Strootman that are taking up a lot of the wage. So even if we wanted to sign somebody now, we probably couldn't get them straight away, um, purely because we need to get that wage bill down. I'm really tempted to bring Tom Davies in. I'm really tempted. Let's just make an offer for him now. 3.6. I'm getting Tom Davies in. You might think I'm mad, but you think Kevin Strootman's going to go out there's 105 grand off the wage bill. He he's got good attributes, but beyond him, we don't really. I mean, look, we've been playing Boubacar Kamara at CDM for some games. We've not really got anyone other than Endo, who's 29 and has been declining recently. Joan Mathad, another one on high wages, he's declining too. Um, Out of contract at the end. Papa Gay has literally not kicked the ball for us. I think they signed him at the start of the season. He's not really good enough. Speaking of Kalidou Sidibe, we're going to try and. Can we move him on to Sion? Outside of the Swiss transfer window. Another one that was signed before I got there, and he's not been doing great. And he's, attribute wise, he's got it. He's played one game for us and performed quite well. But I think he needs the first team experience. Marosic is wanted now on loan though. He's on quite a high wage as well, isn't he? Oh no, 20 grand to be fair. Can we offer him out transfer wise? Try and get rid of him. You just see there's so many people wanting. Managed to get Patzella out just as a quick one there. And yeah, I'm just gonna pop you on pause there. I'm gonna have a little look through a few more of the leagues, see if we can identify anyone, see if we can free up any wages, but I doubt it. Yeah, we'll take it from there. So you can see on the scouting list wise, basically, these are all the guys we've identified, whether it's been through the net tracking, which is where the scouts sort of bring them in, and then we get Pablo to have a little look at them, or through guys that we found who were transfer listed. Matthew Goncalves, as I say, I really want to bring him in. Pablo doesn't fancy him all that much, although I think he'd be the number one. Massively be the number one. I love him, and he's a very good player on it. But again, they probably won't want to part ways with him. So he's still got another couple of matches. Let's just cancel that assignment actually, because I think he's definitely on the go for list. Other than that, there's a couple of these guys. Told them to look for a couple of weeks, etc., etc., and we'll see who gets brought up with that. there's not many goalkeepers. I think Odero and Kelleher, the main two. Again, someone like Odero would probably be a net tracking. We'd just get Longoria to look at him for the 3 months. Same for this Thomas Basila. Look at him for 3 months and then make a decision at the end of that. So, um, back here, you can see Luca Nets has actually come in on a trial, which is another thing you can do if you don't have the time for the scouting or you don't have the finances to scout players like this. If you're a lower league team and maybe you don't have a full extensive scouting range, maybe if you were like a League Two team in England and you didn't have Europe on there, offer them a trial, and then you get your coach report. Pablo Longoria is 20 and 20. He seems to really like Luca Netz. Thinks he can be a potential league in left back. He's really driven. He makes really good decisions, playing a couple of positions. The only problem is he's not operating at the level yet. That's not necessarily an issue, to be honest with you. That being said, I think we're going to bring him in as that originally, and go for it there. I know he's got a couple of other offers in for him, or a couple of other teams in for him. So the fact they wanted 21 million for him, if we pop his wage up higher than we would normally, get rid of all this. See if he'll take it. I'm happy with that. Um, it's a really good way of scouting. It's a really good way. No, I'm not going to that. It's a really good way of bringing somebody in that you can scout instantly, basically. I've seen a few people say trials for 2 weeks because then your coach gets a better understanding of him. I think if his coach's attributes are anything higher than 18, I think he gets a pretty good picture straight away. Pablo, as I say, Pablo's 2020. He basically looked at Luca Netz and went, "Yeah, you go get him in, mate." So I think it's definitely a good way of looking at it. Whether you agree, this is just how I like to do it. It's a player that a team wanted £21 million for, 19 years of age, German youth international, who could potentially be coming in on a free on £6 a week. Probably be our starting left back. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. Um, just wrapping up then. We are still literally on the first, but just on the basis of what's been happening. We've added a few players onto the nailed on shortlist. We're not looking at the data side of it today. I tend to do that at the end of the season when we've had a full season's worth of data. I, I just feel like the more data pool you've got, the better it is. So that's why we choose to do that. The guys were definitely making offers for then. We've already made an offer for Kyrgios, but I don't think we're going to be able to afford them, so we'll probably have to pull out of that, despite the fact that he looks like a very good player. First up is Phillipe Benkovic. They think we're only going to have to pay about £2.9 million for him. He it just needs to learn the language and he's susceptible to injuries, but you literally just drop his training to half intensity, and that tends to sort that out. But our scouts seem to think he's going to be a very, very good player. They're potentially tracking him over 4 months, but if we can get him in straight away just as a backup, um, I'm happy with that. Let's just see. £2.9 million. He wants 7.5 grand a week. I think that he's definitely a no-brainer. Might even potentially get him for cheaper than that. 2.7 and 2.9. Okay, there you go. Phillipe Benkovic, he's definitely on the nailed on. Luca Netz, as you saw, he's nailed on. This guy, Thomas Basila, playing for Nantes, we're just going to keep the scouts looking at him because the only thing that they seem to think he wouldn't fit in properly at the minute is the core social group, but he might fit in the secondary group. If you look at the core social group, it's players who have been there a while. Mandanda, Tovan, Strootman, Rongener, or people who have got a fairly professional personality. So Camara, Emerson, Sidibe, and Mata. Other than that, there's a secondary group. Again, good levels of professionalism and have been there around roughly the same time. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. he'll probably cost a bit more, which is why we're not going for him now. And yeah, Emile Adero, wanted by Liverpool too, might just sort of give you an indication of how good he actually is. 25 years of age, Mandanza's 37, they're pretty much of a muchness. Only thing, again, he wouldn't fit in the core group, but it'd definitely fit in the secondary. They seem to think he's a good player. How much did they think? Anywhere between 4.3 and 6 million. Yeah, we're just going to keep scouting him and see how it goes. But that's sort of just an introduction of how I come to the conclusion of signing people. Also, I'm going to start paying more tax to players who are transfer listed. I definitely think it's worth looking at and looking into. Um, and you can see there we found some good players for that, and potentially getting Luca Nets in on a free as well, which is a massive, massive deal. I'm probably just going to be a bit of a snide as well, and if we declare interest in him as well, sort of force the issue a little bit. Again, I think we've just got a really top class young left back there for pennies, basically. The board keeps doing this. It's very annoying because he's not under 23, and that was one of the things that they wanted. So I'm gonna have to try and talk that out of them. But I think uh, they just basically bend to it because we're third in the league. It's lovely. But I think because oh, I think because we need to do up sort of the base. Like we need an actual like core. So striker wise, I think we've got it with Schick. Midfield, I'm a bit indifferent on. There's a few players that probably want to leave and they're worth quite a bit. Vera's definitely staying. He's worth like 45 million. He's 22. Definitely need a new CDM. Box to box midfielder. I don't mind rotating between Rongana and Corey, so I feel like we might have that sort of boxed off. Centre back wise, we've got two good defenders, but we've not really got much cover in your left back, and obviously the goalkeeper's 37, so he can start declining quite rapidly. I think once we've got that core sorted, that's when we can look properly into the data analysts and sort of see what we're missing and go about it that way. But that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Please just carry on, carry on as you were, and as always, take care.